Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Mindful Mezzo. My name is Sabatina Morrow and I am so excited that you are joining me today for either the first time or maybe you're returning. I am so thrilled that you're here. Right away, I want to remind you that this podcast is in no way intended for medical use. It is not intended to replace any of the professionals in your life. This is just a reflection of mindfulness from one artist to another. Today, I want to discuss burnout. A quick online search can define burnout for you in a few different ways, but today, let's focus on burnout through the lens of overheating in our artistic career. Overheating, or burning out, can happen if we quite literally burn the candle at both ends or overexert ourselves in our careers. We can overwork ourselves in a number of ways. To name a few, saying yes when our schedule is already full, taking on a job that requires more expertise or more time than we may have, stepping outside of our comfort zones to a point where we feel a bit depersonalized at work or feel in over our heads with what we need to do. And there are so many different ways that we can feel this overworking. So whatever applies to you, use that as imagery for the rest of the episode. Whatever burnout looks like for you, this episode will hopefully shed some light on how we can handle it, how to recognize it, maybe how to work with it rather than against it. First, how do we recognize burnout? There is something that will be unique to each person regarding burnout. How you experience your career or general exhaustion in life will likely not be the same as the people around you. So try not to set expectations for how you should feel when burnt out. You can recognize this in a few different ways, but here are some common examples I've seen in my life. Mental and physical exhaustion when thinking about your career and tasks, negative feelings toward your upcoming job, heightened emotional responses to things that once didn't bother you in your work, and maybe a sudden feeling that you are no longer able to complete tasks that once seemed easy to you. These are some very, very generalized examples, so if you think you're experiencing burnout, I suggest talking to a healthcare professional about how you're doing. What are some ways we can address our burnout personally? I like meditation and body scans for this. Put on your favorite meditation and check in with how your body and mind are feeling. What is your body asking you for? What might you need to feel less like you're overheating and more like you're treading very calm water? A body scan starting from your head and ending with your feet can identify immediate areas of tension or stress, which could help you identify where these feelings of burnout are most affecting you. You can find both meditation and body scans online and in apps that you can easily keep on your phone for whenever you need them. I do recommend you use them when it is the most safe to, and I always recommend discussing it with a professional before or after, or sometimes during. How can we try to avoid burnout? For this, I recommend you take some notes with me. I have some questions for you to think about before you answer, and questions that you can think about for however many times you want to. When was a time you felt 100% confident and capable in your work? 2. List out how you felt mentally, physically, and generally as an artist during that time. Note any specifics you feel are most important. 3. When was a time you felt most burnt out in your work? Maybe a time you couldn't or didn't want to complete a task due to stress or imposed tension. 4. List out how you felt mentally, physically, and generally then. 5. What feelings from your first list do you want to maintain for times you feel like your second list? 6. Looking back now, what did you need in the burnout situation, your third question, that you wish you had? And I'll give you some time to answer. Please feel free to pause the podcast here, go back, listen, write in your answers. But moving on, I'm going to give you some of my own examples of generalized moments in my life. I'll never get too specific. You already know that. So here are some of my examples. 1. When was a time I felt 100% confident and capable in my work? My answer: I felt super capable and confident in a show I did in 2019. I felt so on top of the world since my technique was strong. I was less stressed and I was having fun. 2. List out how I felt mentally, physically, generally as an artist. Any specifics? So 2. I felt calm, happy, and able to take on all of my tasks at hand, which I was really excited about. 3. When was a time I felt most burnt out? Maybe I couldn't or didn't want to complete a task. 3. I took on a huge piece of work a couple years back that I don't feel was right for my voice. I did not feel 100% confident, which didn't make me feel too good. I did feel very burnt out. So 4. List out how I felt mentally, physically, and generally. I felt stressed. I felt a lot of tension, both within myself and around myself. And I was exhausted leading up to the job. I basically didn't want to do it, but I knew I had to. 5. What feelings from the first list do I want to maintain for times I feel like my second list? So my first list, I was calm, happy, excited. My second list, I was stressed, tense, and exhausted. So for number 5, I want to maintain the calm and happiness as much as possible in as many different jobs as I can. And 6, looking back today, what do I think I needed back then when I was burnt out that I wish I had? And for number 6, I really wish that I could look into the future and know I'd survive the stress. So retroactively, it is so hard to say, oh, I really needed this and I didn't have it, because it's almost like you're shaming yourself for doing something you didn't know you could do or didn't know you needed to do. But really, at that point, had I known back then that I could survive it, I wish I would have known that, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. It's not that big of a deal. You just have to let this pass. So I maybe needed to just trust myself more. So going forward, I will try to trust myself more. And looking back at all of these things that I've now answered for you in my own life as examples, these are just a personal take on this for me, myself, and I. But I do think that if we can practice and prepare ourselves mentally and physically the way that we prepare our voices, our bodies, our instruments, our supplies for a job, we would be a lot better off in the long run. For this amount of preparation, I think we need to take stock of both the good and the bad. So if you are someone who's into journaling, someone who likes to take notes, write little things in the margins of your score, or put little reminders to yourself in your box of paints or pens or whatever it is that you carry with you, I think that could be a super useful thing to do. So again, writing down what worked and what didn't work for you in your art so you can keep your own inventory of your own preferences. I think that is a very helpful thing to do. Sometimes we forget from one job or one moment to the next what we needed and what worked the best. So if we can write it down and say, I felt most confident when I had this and when I did this, but I felt least confident when I didn't have this or didn't do this, or whatever iteration of that works for you. Writing that down and keeping that little personal inventory, I think, can be super helpful. Another thing that we can do is be mindful of our limits. If you take jobs that make you feel burnt out, Assess why you're feeling burnt out, and then aim to limit your involvement in those specific things in the future, if you can or want to. I am in no way telling you, don't take a job. Just say no to everything if it stresses you out. The first step is to find out why you're stressed. And then if it's something that you can avoid or can remove yourself from, by all means, do that if that works for you. If that doesn't work for you or you don't want to, then don't remove yourself. Find ways to work within the situation that you're given, which again, being mindful of your limits, taking inventory of your feelings, and checking in with professionals. Additionally, because I talked about checking in so many times, check in with your body and mind frequently when you're on a new job, when you're on a potentially stressful job, or when you're on a really positive, happy job. Check in with your body and mind frequently. If you need something, try to find it. Try to find a way to get what you need. Listen to your body. If you need sleep, get sleep. This could be a lesson. Maybe you need another lesson to touch base with your teacher. Maybe you need a good lunch. You could be hungry, and that could be causing you a lot of stress. We've all been there. Maybe you need some extra sleep. Maybe you need time alone. Maybe you're around people too much, and that's burning out your candle a little faster. Maybe you need time with friends to recharge. And of course, there's so many different things that you might need. I do recommend, though, those little mindfulness meditations and body scans to kind of assess and help you pin down exactly what it is you need. Most importantly, because burnout has a lot of stigma surrounding it, it has a lot of negativity surrounding it, remember that burnout can happen to anyone. And it probably has happened to most of the people around you. I know I've been burnt out. I know a lot of the people around me have felt that way as well. Don't be afraid to reach out to the people around you for someone to lean on. Sometimes we just need to know that other people have gone through it in order for us to be able to get through it. Commiseration and finding a peer can be so healing and so helpful. Being burnt out, being overheated, being exhausted does not mean you are weak. In addition, if you ask for help from the people around you, that does not make you useless. If you receive help from the people around you, that does not make you pitiful. We're fed this very strange idea, whether we're artists or not, that we can't ask for help or we're weak. If we receive help, we're getting pity donations. And sometimes if we give help, we're too nice of a person. But I think that asking for help is incredibly strong. You are quite literally asking for help. You're making sure to take care of yourself by asking someone in your life to help you take care of yourself, because we can't always give ourselves everything that we need, and sometimes we need someone outside of ourselves to help us, whether that be a parent, a friend, a boss, a colleague, a healthcare professional, whoever that is for you. It is not a bad thing to ask for help, and if they give you help because you asked for help, that does not make you useless. It does not make you pitiful. Again, that whole idea we're fed of, if you get help, you're just asking people around you to do things for you. That is absolutely not true. And it is something I am so passionate about because I hear it from people, and usually it's what we're telling ourselves. I've said it to myself before. I know in the past I've definitely thought, well, if I ask for help, people are going to think less of me. No, because the people who helped me have also asked for help from others. And usually people will be very proud of you for asking for help. I think you should be very proud of you for asking for help. I'm very proud of you. Even if you don't know me, I'm super proud of you. But help is help. We all need it. And often we are too afraid to ask. I'd invite you to be a little bit less afraid. Ask for help. Offer help. If you notice someone around you can't ask for help, maybe very kindly find a way to offer help. Maybe they're too afraid to ask. But at the end of the day, if you are feeling burnt out, listen to your needs. Recognize that you are not alone in that feeling. And do what you can to minimize the feelings of burnout so that in the future you can take on jobs without being as stressed or without having, not having something in your back pocket to help you manage that. I think it is so incredibly useful to fill up our belt with tools and then bring them to job after job after job so that eventually, rather than only practice technique or only practice voice or only practice your brushstrokes or your swing or your instrument, you're also practicing day-to-day mindfulness tactics that will help you in the long run be confident, comfortable, and sustainable. Being a sustainable artist is such an interesting thing that we're not often taught. We're just taught, show up to work and do your job. But what if we were taught to show up to multiple jobs, consistent, poised, calm, able to take on new tasks without being too stressed out? That's something that we can practice. So keep your lists, keep your journal if you have one, and remember to check in with yourself as much as possible. I think that you are going to be just fine because at the end of the day, you've got it. You've got it. So my friends, as we come to a close on our 7th episode, I would invite you to breathe in 5s with me. So if you haven't done that before, we're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5, hold for 5. So get ready. Make sure you're not operating any heavy machinery and make sure you are in a safe, comfortable place and get ready to breathe in and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of the Mindful Mezzo. My name is Sabatina Morrow, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. Friendly reminder that you are where you need to be. You are nobody's burden. And if you need help, it is perfectly acceptable to ask for help. Thank you so much. I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.